Hi everyone, and thank you for your time in joining this webinar. Just a little bit of housekeeping up front is that I will make a recording of the webinar available after the webinar. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to type them, and please keep yourself in mute. I do hear one or two noises on the line, which means there might be a couple of people not on mute. So please make sure that you are muted on the top left of your. Cool. All right. So everybody should be seeing my screen. I'm going to start with the assumption that it is, and please let me know if there's any problems from that perspective. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a very short presentation, and then we'll jump straight into a DocuWare demo to understand what is possible based on what we have discussed. What I want to focus on today is mostly centralized information. How do we make sure that it's centralized for everybody, and how do we make sure that it's always available and that we have access to the information that we need to have access to? So what we've seen in previous presentations, if you've joined previous webinars, is that some of these points have already been discussed, that we do currently have a problem. And what I've done here is I've added to a little bit, and I said the IT stack, including printers that we are currently using and processes, they were not designed for what we are doing now. And then the last point I added there is that paper usage is bound to reduce dramatically this year, all right? Because there's no point in printing something if there's nobody to give it to. If it's just for me, then I can just leave it on the screen. And even if I did print it, there'll be absolutely no point to me printing it. So it's something to consider here, that this might have a very, very big impact on us going forward. All right, so the questions still remain is, how do I get past the technology stack that I have available now that was geared to me working in the office? How do I now adapt this technology stack or make it, or let it help me be more productive? And the one that I want to focus on today is the one that I wrote there at the bottom. How do I manage information better than folders and in my email? How do I do that? That's the specific one that I want to focus on now. I'm going to most certainly touch on the other ones as well. But what do I do with those? That's not centralized at all. Email is not centralized at all. The folders that I have on my machine is not centralized at all. And even though they might be available to me, it's still a cumbersome way of managing that information. So I want to focus on that a little bit today and unpack that a little bit to make sure that we've got more information to help us going forward during this time. So DocuWare, of course, enables us to do this. It enables the distributed workforce. It's actually promoted the distributed workforce for years. And some of our customers that had the tools already knew this. And I popped this slide in there just for a reminder for everybody. And of course, there's a lot of people that might not have seen it before. We're going to focus on the emails today. The top one, we're going to talk about the scanned documents as well. But DocuWare would capture any type of document in any source, from any source, and in any format into the system. Even if it's a document that can't be viewed in DocuWare and needs to be opened in its native application, I'd still be able to manage that document within DocuWare, although DocuWare manages hundreds of file types directly in the viewer. Now, the middle portion that we have there, which is the process intelligence and workflow portion, that's the portion that I want to try and skip today. Not really skip, but I want to try and, for this period, move us away from this very complex workflows that we used to build. That is, of course, massively beneficial for any type of organization, but I want to move away from that for a moment to understand how can we right now make ourselves more effective and efficient, right? So I don't want to focus on the integrations too much and the workflows too much, which is of course possible within DocuWare, but I want to focus more on the stuff that I can do natively, just like that. For example, implement the DocuWare cloud and get running within a couple of hours. That's the ones I want to focus on. Now, of course, the use cases within DocuWare still remains. Incoming invoices, incredibly powerful, and I can automate processes around that to reduce a huge amount of user influence on the process so that the user only manages the exceptions. Employee records, absolutely great benefit to any HR environment and all employees for that matter to have central information available and automate some of the processes that I have within that environment as well. Now, the one that I'm going to focus on slightly today is customer files. How do I manage the correspondence? And how do I manage the correspondence between departments specifically during this period to make sure that I have all of the information available that I require and so that I can ask questions and get answers to what I need with a click of a couple of buttons. The mailroom we've mentioned in previous webinars is digitize incoming mail. There's still mail incoming into the organizations. We can use DocuWare to easily distribute that through the organization. And then I'm going to skip sales operations for a moment and go to controlling, where we can talk about regulatory compliance and controlling the way that I'm managing my data within DocuWare. But then with customer information, what I'm going to focus on today is sales operations, is keeping all of the material that I have related to the sales process. And how do I manage that going forward? So we want to increase productivity. Every single person I spoke to, organization I spoke to wants to do that. We've had a couple of meetings set up with customers for after lockdown periods within various countries. But how do we make sure that the productivity is at its absolute maximum level? And without the information, this is impossible, right? Can we scale this later? Prevent data loss with modern systems. Right? I just had a very interesting call with another customer where the technology stack that's available is not used by them because they don't have a partner that help them to focus on new technology that's available within the industry. And then, of course, we've got to make sure that everybody in the organization understand what is the goal, what we are driving to, and that we all row in the same direction. And we'll get to Q&As after I do my demo. But of course, if you have any questions up to now, please feel free to type them within the question section, and I will handle them as they appear. Right. In my demo environment, and I'm currently logged into this demo environment as a gentleman called Peter Sanders. And this fictitious company that I've created, Peter is the salesperson. And he's working for his sales manager, and his sales manager's name is Fred Winner. And then they also have a lady within order processing or finance called Peggy Jenkins that will help them to process any orders or any customer-related information that they do need from her. So Peter, of course, focused quite a bit on Outlook. As any good salesperson, he uses his email quite often, and he, of course, handles quite a bit of phone calls on a daily basis. And he's now received 5 mails here. Back in 2017, but we won't care about the date right now. So he's received these 5 mails, and he's going to, of course, handle them one by one as he needs to. The first email that he received is from a gentleman called Thomas Rain. He's from a company called Flying Tom, and he's actually asking him a question here to provide him for a proposal, and he's also attached a file with an extension DXF. This file is not available to be viewed on his computer. It's actually an AutoCAD drawing. And he doesn't have an application on his computer to view that file. And he also wants to store this file into the DocuWare file cabinet so that it's centrally available firstly and so that he can action it further. So all he does is he right-clicks on the email, he goes to store to DocuWare, and he's got a couple of options here. Right? He's got options to just store the attachment within DocuWare. He's got the option to move the email, so it's not within his Outlook anymore. These are obviously all customizable options to move the email because he doesn't need it anymore, but it should be stored within the file cabinet. Or he's just got the option to copy the mail to the file cabinet and leave it within his mail. And he's also got this option of follow-up email. So he wants to store this email within DocuWare, and he wants to be reminded to follow up on it in the future. So he simply clicks that button, and the DocuWare store dialog opens up to ask him a couple of additional questions related to this email that he's storing. All of the information is already captured for him because DocuWare could read this from the email, and it could remember the company and the contact from a previous email that was stored for this specific customer. And all that he has to do is simply select a project. And he knows that this is related to a specific project he's already busy working on, and he can view all of the projects for this customer. So he's just capturing the project code and he hits store. As simple as that. And the document is stored into DocuWare, now obviously an email with an attachment. And he processes the rest as well. So let's do them very quickly. Here, somebody is not accepting his offer, unfortunately, because of timelines. So he says, yes, I want to follow up on this, but he's also making a note on this one now saying, check for earlier implementation dates. Right. So just a note for himself within the file cabinet on what he can do potentially with this email. He looks at another email that he received here from a guy called Patrick Summers. And Patrick says, I'd like to go into an agreement with you. Actually, he says, all right, cool. I need to follow up on this as well. And in this case, DocuWare does not know the company and the contact. So just the first time that he's capturing information for this specific customer, he just captures the information as well, so that the system can know it going forward if there's additional mails. But the rest of the information was, of course, captured. He stores that mail into the file cabinet. He's got an email here from his customer, Ellie Iceberg, which is also a new customer, saying, I just want to give you my contact numbers. Now, he doesn't want to follow up on this mail, but he'd like to store that within the file cabinet. And once again, DocuWare is asking him for the information because it's a new customer, and he quickly captures that information into contact and company, and he hits store. Another email from the same person asking him for a price list on his products. So he says, yes, I would like to follow up on this. And this case now, DocuWare remembered it from the previous capture, so he doesn't have to do that again, and store. And he can also conveniently see that these documents are stored within DocuWare. He can also directly from his Outlook say, show me all of the documents within DocuWare for the same sender. So he simply clicks that button and DocuWare shows him a list at the bottom of both emails that's currently within the file cabinet. So quite a nice lookup for him right here to see any data relevant to this customer. And of course, this DocuWare search box can search any information that it is configured for within the system. Right, so let's jump to DocuWare. And I'll understand that there's one or two people on the call that's never seen the tool before. So just as a brief explanation, 5 main function buttons on top, incredibly simple for the user to use. The document trays are there to mostly capture external document types. And I'll use that in just a moment when we hopefully get a purchase order from one of our customers for the information that we sent out. The next one that I have there is my search box. And my search box is showing me 2 file cabinets that I can search. Now let's just review very quickly. Let's say Peter wants to search the search box because he wants to look for a payslip for one of his colleagues to make sure that he is paid the same. He says, show me everybody within the sales department where he is, and he hits search. But DocuWare has blocked any additional information from him that's not relevant to him. So it's showing him only his information. So very, very secure. That's not the document I'm looking for at the moment, though. I'm looking for a document within the document pool, which is where we store all of our sales-related information. Think of it as a file cabinet standing in the corner that can take an unlimited amount of documents, and I can just throw it in there, and it will exactly know where to go. So I say, okay, I am looking for a document for a company called Flying Tom Germany. I am also looking for a document type, and I hit this drop-down box, and DocuWare is showing me all of the document types in the system for Flying Tom. Like, for instance, if I had to hit the reset button, and let me just get that dialog away from there, It's bothering us. If I had to reset this and hit the document type drop-down box, you can see that I've got lots of documents within my file cabinet. But once again, if I filter that just to Flying Tom Germany, it shows me the document types, and then I'm looking for this email in. This is the email that the customer sent me that I stored, which was the first email that I stored from Outlook. All right, and there is my document. And now wonderfully, if I go to the attachment of this document, I can now view this document within DocuWare as well. So DocuWare has given me the ability to view this AutoCAD drawing. If I click here on my lists, we've created a list here for Peter that shows him all of his follow-up emails. So he can very quickly see what he needs to action. So there's that, of course, this mail that we're looking at now from Flying Tom Germany. And then we have all of these other mails as well. Here's the email where the customer said, I can't unfortunately go ahead. So he right clicks on it and he says, send a request, please. And I want to send this request to my manager. His name is Fred Winner. And he says, yeah, it's a new request from Peter. Please see if we can do something about the date. Now, what I've done now is I've kicked off a workflow without actually configuring a workflow within the powerful DocuWare workflow engine, making it very simple to implement and something that can bring positive impact to the business immediately. And I send that request. And then, of course, for the one for Flying Tom Germany, I now need to do a little bit of work. The customer asked me for a proposal. So I have a proposal here on my desktop, done in Microsoft Word. And this is now a proposal that I'm about to send out to the customer. You can see there's a quotation, there's pricing, it's all kinds of information within this document. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on File, Print, and I'm going to print this to the DocuWare printer. DocuWare is now going to take this document, convert it to a PDF, and it's also, once it's done that, obviously extract the information off the page so that you can remember file cabinet. I'm just throwing it in there and it's automatically putting it in the right place. So it's extracting that information. And it's also going to open up Microsoft Outlook for me so that I can send out this email to the customer. What I would also like to do, and there it's done it for me already, you can see the PDF of the offer attached. It's automatically populated the email for me, so saving me quite a bit of time there. And I also want to store this document directly into the file cabinet. This time I don't want to follow it up. I just click that one button, and DocuWare is now storing the outgoing mail also into DocuWare so that I can find it going forward. Now what I want to do is this Word document, I want to store that as well. Because in the future, I want to find it easily, and maybe I need to change the proposal or the offer that I did for the customer. So I go into these folders that DocuWare has automatically created for me within Windows Explorer, and I go to Document Pool by Company. This is just one of the ways, of course, to get the document in. Flying Tom Germany, there's my project, and this, of course, is an offer. So I just take this Word document and I drag it into this folder. And once again, it opens up the DocuWare Store dialog for me. And now I can capture additional information, but the folder information was already captured for me. So I most certainly, the project code is captured. I want the document date. It's displayed here on the right. The contact is displayed there on top if I want to capture that. And of course, his email address as well. And I click on Store. And now this Word document is also stored into DocuWare for me, and I can see it there in the folder. So let's assume now that Peter is receiving a purchase order from his customer. He might have received it in hard copy, which in this time is quite unlikely, or he could have received it also from mail. I'm going to handle it as if he received a hard copy from the customer, and I've opened up my scanning application, and I'm now going to scan that order directly into DocuWare. And I just hit the scan button, and the document is going to appear for us just now. There we go, and it's already been scanned to DocuWare. In this case now, the document has been scanned to my document tray. So I now need to store this, and I say, yes, it's a sales-related document. And I can now simply use click indexing once again to index this document directly into DocuWare. DocuWare also has the ability to use a tool called intelligent indexing to intelligently index this document for me. And but I'm showing you now the absolute simplest way, very simple implementation. I don't know the email address. I simply click there and document is stored within DocuWare. Okay. Now, of course, I want to view any additional information related to this email that I've just stored from Flying Tom, Germany. DocuWare has created a convenient project document link for me. There's all of my project documents. So I can see the order I stored, the offer that went out, and you can see that's a Microsoft Word document. And with DocuWare's version control, I can now edit this document. So let's say I need to make a change to it. I simply click on Edit. The document is opened up for me in Microsoft Word. I make my change to the document. I close it and I save it. No need to tell the system where to save it. It's automatically stored back into DocuWare. So now if I look at my Word document, there's a change. And if I look at the version history of this document, it also tells me who changed it and to when. And I can also ask the user to enter a comment while doing this. Now back to my project-related documents, which I already have open. I now want to send this order to the finance department. Of course, we could have built a pre-built workflow to completely automate this process, but I want to now just quickly send it firstly to my manager for approval and then to finance. So I say, let's once again add winner. And I also want to add Jenkins, which is the person in the orders department. Of course, pre-built workflows, as a lot of you might know, would have automated this for me, but it's still very simple to accomplish just like that. Now, I also want to tell DocuWare, assign the request for me, but in sequence. They need to approve it within sequence, and I want to apply a stamp. And I could change the wording there, which I'm not going to waste too much time on now. Great. I see there's a couple of questions in, just to let you know. I will get to them in just a moment. So I'm going to click on tasks, and I can see here in my tasks, I've got a send requests button. So I click on that, and I can see that I've got, these my documents, the subject of the documents, and when I've started it, and I can also add additional data here. So these requests are currently still open that I sent out to my manager. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log out as me, and I'm going to log in as Fred Winner, my manager. And while I'm doing that, let's take a look at these questions. So the one question that I have here, is it possible for DocuWare to OCR the email and make suggestions as to contact name and company name instead of copy and paste? It is possible with the email if I push it through the DocuWare intelligent indexing system. However, emails by itself are very, how shall I put this, variable in their layout. But the header information is quite simple. So if I push this email through the DocuWare intelligent indexing system, it could read the header information of the email, of course, and I do not need to copy and paste that information. But remember, I'm doing it only the first time because the lookup is automated for that specific user going forward. Right. The next question that I have here is, how do digital signatures get added or stored? I'm going to show that to you now, the internal digital signature of DocuWare. Last week, there was a webinar by one of my colleagues, Richard, that showed external digital signatures that's also integrated into DocuWare, but I'll show you digital signatures within DocuWare in just a moment. I have another question here for contracts and other documents. I assume that was to the previous one. Yes, external contracts, we can integrate with an external signing provider. DocuWare currently provides integration with a company called Validated ID. Of course, there's lots of our customers that use other ones with custom integration. Very soon, we'll also have integration into other external signature providers. But internally, DocuWare can, of course, add digital signatures. Yes, I will add the video was one question. And here's one other one. Can DocuWare intelligent indexing be able to identify and classify a pile of invoices? Essentially being able to detect where the invoices are from and file them dynamically. Yes, intelligent indexing can do that as long as the invoices are split when they come into the tray. It's a little bit of a technical conversation. You're welcome to pop me a mail afterwards if you want to get into that, but yes, that is possible. So we can split the invoices and then of course store them based on where they are from, but we'll store them based on much more information than that. Intelligent indexing will be able to fetch quite a bit of fields from the document and of course the line items of the invoice as well. I'm going to pause the questions there and I'm just going to continue the presentation and I'll get back to the rest of the questions in just a moment because I can see they're coming in. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so now I'm logged in as Fred Winner. He's now the manager of Peter Saunders, and he has received an email from the DocuWare system to say, please can we take a look at the date? I could have, of course, added more information here, and he simply clicks on the link in the email. If it was on his mobile phone, it would have opened up in our mobile application. He's only got two options here, approve or reject, exactly the way that I set it up. He can take a look at the email. He can also see, and he says, let's say, unfortunately not, we do not have time, or whatever the case may be. And I can't spell, which is quite normal for those of you that know me, and confirm. Right, so task is closed and it's on its way. But of course, I sent him another task. So I'm just going to jump to DocuWare now and not go to the email. And I can see that there's another request here. So it's a purchase order. Will you please, there's a new purchase request. I could have obviously given it information. But in this case, I want to approve it again. And I'm just going to say, please process invoice. And I confirm that task, which is closed. All done. I also, because I'm his manager, I can also see his follow-up box. I can, of course, also take a look at the specific mail. And I can even now apply a stamp to that mail completed, which would automatically remove that off the list. And then, of course, the same for the email of can we extend it? Here's my stamp. Unfortunately, we can't move the date. We do not have time. And I'm just going to complete this as well to move it off the list. So you can see how simple it is to process. Make sure that I follow up on tasks. Make sure that it is sent to additional people. So my last step within this workflow that I'd like to show you today is to log in as Becky Jenkins in the orders department. Now, after that task for the purchase order was sent to Fred Winner, it was also now sent to her so that she can now process this. And she also received an email, as you can see, request from Saunders to approve the document, or she can just go directly into DocuWare, look at her received requests. She can see any interaction. Now, I nearly forgot. This is, of course, the digital signatures I was talking about in the question that was asked, the digital signature that was placed on the page. You can see these standard tools that DocuWare have, also the link to the project-related documents. And of course now, as the orders department, she can also click on the project-related documents. And as we said, centrally available and always available information. She can see that the proposal was sent out to the customer. She can see that the offer went out. And she can see the email that came in as the request. And then, of course, she can also see any other related information. She can even see a purchase order and a delivery note that went out to our supplier where we already ordered stock for this specific project. And she can simply, once she's generated the invoice, I haven't built that into the workflow, of course, but very, very possible to print the invoice the same as I printed the order, and also confirm that this task is now complete. And then, of course, finally, going back to Peter Saunders. And in the DocuWare system, all of these sent requests will now clear. and he can see that it was completed by him, and he can see exactly what happened, and he can choose to close the task or potentially ask another question, and exactly the same for the request, and he can see that it was approved by both people. Simple and effective with, as I said, no huge amount of work and simple workflows that was done. Guys, thank you very much. That's my demo. I'm going to go to the questions now. So if there's more questions, please do not hesitate. There's a question here. Is it possible to automatically receive to DocuWare a specific document? Yes, it is. DocuWare can connect to a mailbox, for instance, invoices@companyname.com, and automatically import any documents that's coming in there. You can also set up the DocuWare import configuration to only import the attachment, for instance, during this process and send it through the DocuWare intelligent indexing system. We can automatically import from folders, and we even have mobile capture technology where we can import from. And then, of course, it's quite simple to import directly from a mailbox. In fact, on that question, seeing that we do have time, I will very briefly log in here as Peggy Jenkins again and show you the intelligent indexing system. You can see here's an invoice that was received by her, an invoice attached to the email. So all I do is I right click on it and I click on store in DocuWare, and I'm going to send this to the basket. So in DocuWare, I can see it coming in, and you can see on the screen now the DocuWare intelligent indexing system is currently running. So it is now trying to extract information off the page by itself. So there it's finished. It's giving me a green tag telling me that it's 100% confident in what it fetched off the page. Now, in this example, I didn't extract line items information because it doesn't make a lot of sense. But of course, I could have done that as well. Now, just for information, should this invoice be scanned the first time and intelligent indexing didn't know where those two fields were that I just cleared, all I have to do to teach it is simply by clicking on the document number and saying, you know what, there is the document number on top. I think it was a different one that was indexed before. I think I should have selected account number, but doesn't matter much. And then, of course, the net amount. And now I've taught intelligent indexing where to fetch this information of the invoice in the future. And of course, this kind of configuration also only takes minutes to set up. And that is obviously something that will be very beneficial for any organization during this period to automatically index documentation, and I can simply store. I hope that answers the question. I can see that the previous question was related to email. So yes, of course, emails can be imported automatically directly from Outlook or directly from an unmonitored mailbox. It's also quite nice that you can set up folders within Outlook to index specific information. So DocuWare can also read the folder that it was in to add that as additional metadata within DocuWare. I have an interesting question here. Some of you might laugh, knowing me very well, how much I like Apple. They say, does it work with Apple devices? You are looking at this demo on a guy doing the demo from a Mac. So yes, it is possible. The only thing that does not work on the Mac is the DocuWare desktop apps. But of course, the DocuWare viewer, you are viewing in a browser, so it works on any browser. But if you want to print to the system, you do need a Windows-based system to print to the DocuWare printer and to import from a folder. So the DocuWare desktop apps that's running here on the bottom right, unfortunately, only works on a Windows-based device. So that's why I'm running a virtual machine with Windows on it. Sorry, I'm just reading other questions. Okay, so I've got technical questions, but we do have time. There is a question here: can DocuWare read the line items of the invoices and synchronize that to the ERP? Yes, it is completely possible. There's multiple ways of doing it. In fact, the DocuWare line items can be exported to a third-party database or to a DocuWare file cabinet and then synchronized with internal tools like AutoIndex, or you can use the DocuWare API to directly access the DocuWare system and export those line items to a third-party system. So yes, that is completely possible. Another question here, does DocuWare support Arabic language? Yes, DocuWare does support the Arabic language, even in the DocuWare intelligent indexing system. But due to the Arabic language being the type of the text and how it looks, the documents need to be of slightly better quality than an English-based document. You are welcome to send me an email afterwards so that we can discuss that in more detail should you want more information on that. But yes, DocuWare does support Arabic within the OCR engine. OCR standing for Optical Character Recognition. Guys, thank you for these questions, but I'm going through them systematically, of course. So there's a question here, will there be a timeline on requests so that it can be sent back and followed up like by a manager? The requests that I showed you now does not have an automatic escalation function. But because the user have full overview of the request that was sent, they can of course pull that back and send it to somebody else. However, setting up a simple workflow within the DocuWare workflow engine would give me that functionality. I can set up reminder dates and I can set up due dates. And I can even make the document escalate firstly, or if the user is not in the office and his out of office is on, or if a specific time has lapsed, then I can automatically escalate it up, down the line, depending on how I've set that up. So the automation is possible when a simple workflow is being set up. Oh, can a human signature be added to the page? Thank you for expanding on that question. So I can put what we call a text stamp on a page, which could be a scanned version of a human signature. So a stamp can be a text stamp, and then a picture of the signature is applied. Of course, this is not a legal way of signing it, but you can prove in any court that somebody signed it based on his access rights in the system. So if you have a customer or you yourself internally would like to sign a document with a physical signature as well, then that can be applied with the electronic stamp to the document to prove. So the electronic stamp is actually the legality, not the signed one. The whole point of a signed signature with a pen is that a handwriting expert can take a look at how hard did I push on the page, what's the curve that I made, and all of those fancy things. They call it biometric signatures. So it won't be a biometric signature, but it can, of course, be an image that's imported. Another place where we use physical signatures is in our forms, where we can have a box where a person can actually sign on our forms, like on a tablet or with like these new Apple pens or a normal stylus, which is also possible with a physical signature. If you'd like information on that, please do not hesitate to send me an email afterwards. Another question here, interesting question, is does DocuWare come with pre-built workflows? Yes, it does. So currently DocuWare has 2 pre-built workflows. Firstly, if you order a cloud system just like that, it comes with a basic document pool with a bunch of metadata fields, and you can start working with the demo that I showed you now. You might have to build some import configurations that take a couple of minutes once I print a document or scan a document. But we also have pre-built workflows for accounts payable and employee management. Now, these are very extensive workflows that for invoice processing, for instance, does 3-way matching automatically. These examples are however built for the US market. So there might be slight customizations that needs to be done for other markets. Like, for instance, here in South Africa, we have to do some customizations to change some wordings and things like that, like they use in America. But yes, the custom pre-built workflows are available. And in fact, in DocuWare 7.3, which will be released in a month or 2, they become even better because they are even more automated. Currently, we have to spend about 2 to 3 days to get it working, although it's workflows that took months to build. But in 7.3, that would even be quicker. That answers that question. There's a question here, if you had to scan a document, which mobile application would be best to use for DocuWare? Firstly, DocuWare works with any scanner. We don't care what it is, MFP scanner, multifunction scanner, normal scanner. And then, of course, scanning a document from a mobile device, we also wouldn't care what application it is. But DocuWare does have an application called DocuWare Paper Scan that works on iOS and on Android devices. And this Paper Scan application you can use to scan directly into the DocuWare system or even to Mail or Dropbox or something similar. So this application is available on the app stores and is free of charge. Of course, you need the DocuWare system to scan to DocuWare, but you can use it to scan to other sources like email or Dropbox or something similar. So, but if you do currently have a scanning app, mobile scanning application that you are using, that can also be used with DocuWare simply by dropping into a folder or scanning that to an email box. There was a question, can we set specific currency values to number fields? That is a no. The DocuWare index fields is a numeric field or a decimal field, so we can set the decimal field to 2 decimal fields, but we can, of course, have a secondary field that identifies currency. So I do that quite often within my internal system as well, especially for expense claims, where I define a currency for a field. So because the field is a purely numeric field, it is not a currency field, it's a numeric field, but we can define that by a secondary field quite simply. So it becomes exactly the same thing, to be honest. I hope that answers that question. Guys, I'm going to continue with these questions until the time is up at about 3 o'clock, but I can see they're flowing in. I love it. Thank you very much. Let them continue coming in, but I might answer some of them by email afterwards to all participants. When you send an email to the basket, does intelligent indexing read the email and the attachment? It is possible if I split them up, but yes, absolutely. I can read both. I have a question here about all Arabic fonts. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to come back to you. I, of course, have the question. I'll come back to you on that one. Yes, DocuWare can read from any languages. I have another question here about languages. Well, any. Any is a very big word. I believe we cover 16 languages at this point. You've mentioned French, German, English, and Arabic in here, and yes, we support those. Does DocuWare have retention schedules? Yes, they're not pre-built, but they're incredibly simple to set up. I think it takes 20 minutes, having a list, and then of course we have lists that would report on dates. So this is also very relevant to contracts management. We can manage contracts based on their date or even specific KPIs on a contract, and we can very easily manage retention periods on documents as well. I have another question here about a preferential manner. I'm not 100% sure which question that was related to, so I'm going to skip that for now. I have a question here about credit card numbers and whether that can be skipped and not read. Yes, that is possible. I need to understand the use case very well to understand how we can exclude that. So please follow up with me on mail on that one. But of course, credit card numbers can be hidden within the system, for instance. So if you have a field that reads credit card numbers, those can be hidden. But if a credit card is scanned into the tray, then in the tray, I have very little control over it. I hope that answers that question. There's a question about our mobile apps for iOS and Android devices and what do they do? Guys, please read up on it on the website. They, of course, do not have all of the functionality of the browsers, but they're getting better every day. In fact, our new mobile application, you can even apply the intelligent indexing results to documents that scan directly from the tray. But you can search from them, you can approve your workflow on them, you can view your lists on them, you can even index documents on them. So they are very powerful, but they do not have all of the functionality that is included within the browser. What if my mobile phone or DocuWare login is stolen? I think it's very much the same answer as to every application, but I can expand that a little bit. Of course, the details can be changed as with most other applications. And within DocuWare 7.3, we will also have multi-factor authentication enabled, which will be available within the next month or two. So multi-factor authentication will give you an additional layer of security. Of course, that also becomes a problem if your mobile phone is stolen and they have the login details to your mobile phone, because generally multi-factor authentication is connected to a mobile phone. But an administrator can very easily disable an account or change usernames and passwords on the account as with most other applications. I will share my email address with everybody. I see there's a question there for additional questions that might come in. You can clearly see that there's a chat in here, and I am going to type my email address in that chat for everybody right now. You should have received that. There's a question here: what is the maximum amount of users that can be used for DocuWare in an organization? Unlimited. I have not heard of any limit that we've ever reached based on a stability, from a stability perspective. So unlimited, most certainly. There is, however, limitations based on hardware that you implement on. If you're not going in the cloud, it would be unlimited, but for hardware, you'd need to make sure that the hardware that you implement on your servers are most certainly strong enough to manage the amount of users that you are going to throw at the system. Because I actually got through all of the questions. So if there is specific questions that you would like me to expand on, please send me an email with the chat at the bottom. So I won't be answering any questions directly on an email. So if there are specific questions, if I feel they are relevant, then I'll share them with everybody. And I was too quick. You guys have sent me more questions. That's excellent. Thank you. I will continue for another 7 minutes. There's a question about when will Mac OS, I'm assuming it says iOS. iOS is supported with a mobile app, but when will Mac OS be supported? Unfortunately, there's no timelines on this. It has not been absolutely critical for us to do this implementation, and that's not why it's not being done. What I can suggest is to use the DocuWare user voice. It is at the website uservoice.docuware.com. And in the user voice, you can request specific functions. You might also look there because other people has requested it before, and there you can vote for a functionality that you want. And if there's a lot of votes for a functionality, the product team will look at that to include that, and they will also update you on the user voice whether your request has been successful. I've got a question here about embedded software. I'm assuming the question is related to a multifunction device. DocuWare does not do those embedded applications anymore. We used to do them in the past, but most of the multifunction providers now provide this functionality to capture into DocuWare. And to name a few, I know that Toshiba does it, Ricoh does it, and a few others. But they have their own embedded applications to scan to DocuWare. But it all depends on the use case. And in most cases, scanning to folder is good enough, and DocuWare will monitor the folder and import that into the application. But if you want to answer some questions and things like that on the front panel, these multifunction providers does have the functionality to do it. A lot of thank yous. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I appreciate the questions. There's a question here: can a demo be set up for any type of vertical, for example, for an insurance company? Yes, this is completely possible. In fact, I do have a couple that talks to this in some or other way. But my partners very often configure demos for specific requirements. So, Rob, question from you, pop me a mail, we'll chat about it. I've got a question here. What is unique to DocuWare in the market? This is a very, very open-ended question. I can most probably talk for about 3 hours. Those of you that know me most probably know that I also will. But look, there's a lot of unique points. Intelligent indexing is unique. The fact that we have full capture, full document management, full workflow is also quite unique. But to find other unique points besides those would be unique points versus specific competitors, because you'll find that a lot of competitors, of course, have cross functionality that would touch some portion of DocuWare. But where we're really powerful is our UI and our usability, and it's the usability that always that our customers love and why our customers want to use our product. Can we add videos and voice to DocuWare? Yes, you can. They cannot be displayed within the viewer, but they can be managed within DocuWare. So you can open them in the original application, but they'll be managed within DocuWare. That answers that question. Can potential customers go to the DocuWare site and view industry-specific type of demos? No, but they can be requested from this website. And there's a lot of demo videos on the DocuWare channel on YouTube that can also be accessed. But customers can go to our website and, of course, request specific demos, and then they'll be contacted by sales or one of our partners to do these demos. Guys, thank you very much. It looks like that's all the questions, and a funny one from one of my customers I have a meeting with now to tell me not to be late. I will not. So I will be signing off now. Once again, if there is additional questions, please do not hesitate. I will not field any more questions now on the panel. I will field any additional questions now in email on the email address below. One last question, the last question that I'll handle, so please don't send more, send it to email. I don't know this product. It was a question, why would a customer choose DocuWare over Program Autopilot? I do not know this at all. I don't know the product at all. I've been in the content management space for about 15 years, so I don't even know what it is. If you'd like to have a chat about it, send me an email. Guys, thank you. And hopefully chat to a couple of you soon. And thank you very much for your time on the call. That was excellent. And yeah, thank you very much. Talk soon. Bye.